It's finally time to get back to baseball on this channel. Welcome everybody to MLB The Show 21 and the debut of my Colorado Rockies franchise. It's been over a year now since my Minnesota Twins franchise ended. I knew I wanted to get back to the show this year, and I wanted to do a really big rebuild. There are so many teams that I think are great for franchise this year in the show. And it was really difficult to narrow down my selection, but I knew exactly what I was looking for, and the Rockies fit the best. Today I want to introduce you to the series and tell you exactly why the Rockies were my choice, and where we're going to be starting out with this rock-bottom rebuild of the Rockies. I know I'm staying in the same city as my Denver Broncos franchise, and I just can't seem to leave the Mountain Time Zone apparently. But the Rockies were such a good fit because I wanted a team, of course, that needs a lot of work. That's the first step, and there are so many teams that fit that are fun for various reasons. I actually think that there are other teams that are more fun than the Rockies, but I wasn't optimizing for just a fun team. I wanted the challenge, and I think the Rockies have that. Playing in the NL West, you have the Dodgers, you have the Padres, and then I think they're also behind the Diamondbacks and the Giants at the same time. I really wanted to play in a competitive, tough division, and I wanted to be in the National League this time. I think there's more strategy when you talk about pitchers hitting and having to make more managerial decisions, double switches, and using more of your bench. And to me, that's an interesting difference compared to my Twins franchise. Another reason I chose the Rockies is their team history. The Rockies have been a team since 1993. They're a young MLB franchise, and they're one of 6 to have never won a World Series. And the last time they won the NL West was never. It's never been done. They won the pennant back in 2007, and that's really it. They don't have the same success as their rivals. The Dodgers just won the World Series. The Giants have won 3 since 2010, and the Padres, while never winning a World Series, are a whole lot closer than the Rockies are now. And let's not forget, the Arizona Diamondbacks are an even younger franchise and won a World Series back in 2001. Another reason I chose the Rockies is their ballpark. This is where you're going to see a lot of home runs, a lot of offense in general, and not only is that exciting, but I think that it's going to have an impact on how I build the team, especially the pitching staff. The game's a little bit different in Coors Field, and you never know when the snow's going to fly. I hope there's snow in the show. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but I'm excited to play with this team in this ballpark nonetheless. So let's talk about this team a bit more specifically. They had a core a couple years ago that got them to the wild card in 2017 and 2018. And that core is no longer the same. DJ LeMahieu is with the Yankees, and they just traded Nolan Arenado this past offseason to the St. Louis Cardinals. This team's main star is, of course, Trevor Story, a great power hitter who is now a year away from hitting free agency. Is he also going to be leaving Colorado as this team rebuilds for the future? In a Rockies rebuild, that's the first decision that has to be made. He's 28 years old, he's the best player the Rockies have. Do you try to re-sign him, and if it doesn't work, trade him after a while, like they did with Nolan Arenado? Or do you just trade him this year because the team is nowhere near contending? One of the Rockies' top players over the last decade has been outfielder Charlie Blackmon. He's had some outstanding years with the Rockies, but he's now 34 and possibly his best baseball is behind him. Are him and Story really players that this team can build around to get to their next winning season and playoff appearance? I think one of the best players on this team that you can build around is starting pitcher Airmon Marquez. He's been one of the Rockies' best pitchers over the past few seasons, and he's only 26 years old with B potential. Of course, he pitches a lot in Coors Field, so he will give up a lot of runs there, but so does everybody. Marquez has been very good playing on the road, and has the quirks that will be very useful playing all these night games against some really good offenses. Another starting pitcher that we can build around for a while is Jon Gray, who's 29 years old. Also noticed that his MLB service time is incorrect here, and I was wondering, like, are there a bunch of edits I have to make so that this is good for the start of the franchise? That's why I didn't get into opening day here. I wanted to make sure everything was set and I didn't overlook anything. So that's easy to fix, but I'm not sure how many issues like that there are for players around the league. The Rockies also brought in CJ Crone, who had a really good year a couple seasons back with the Minnesota Twins, but he was just signed to a one-year deal, a $1 million contract. He's probably not somebody to build around long-term. Garrett Hampson is one of the position players I do think we can build around. He has excellent speed, he's a 77 overall with A potential, and he doesn't have that much experience. He could still get a lot better. He can play a variety of positions, I like that flexibility. He's one of the players I'm most excited about. I also like third baseman Ryan McMahon, who brings that power that you want to the lineup. He's only 26 with B potential. He hits lefties especially well, so lefty-lefty matchups aren't any concern for him. But he doesn't have much experience either, so who knows what kind of player he's going to develop into. Another player with some potential is Sam Hilliard, who has just over a year of Major League experience. He should bring some power to the lineup, but still he needs more time to develop. The Rockies ultimately did not get a lot in the trade for Nolan Arenado. The top player they received in return is Austin Gomber, a left-handed pitcher with B potential, a little bit of Major League experience, who excels at keeping the ball on the ground, and that's always a good thing inside a Coors Field. Again though, not much experience. Can you trust that all these players are going to pan out just because they have good potential? Last year, Rymel Tapia became the Rockies' leadoff batter, hitting over 300 on the season. He's 27 years old with B potential, another player that actually has a little bit of experience and helps balance out the order a bit, being more of a contact hitter over power. Another player that intrigues me, if his plate vision can get better, is catcher Dom Nunez. Anytime there's a catcher with some upside at hitting, you gotta be a bit excited about that. And Nunez does have a bit of pop, but I don't know about that 12 plate vision. That's going to be a nightmare for making contact. There aren't many players with A potential on this roster, but Brendan Rodgers is one of them. I know in real life he's actually injured right now, and I'm not sure if there's any way to replicate the injuries in real life with my franchise. So if you can give some feedback on that, that would be great. But Rodgers is definitely one of the best players to start building this team around sooner than later. He's only 24 years old. But one of the reasons why I picked the Rockies is actually because of their farm system, and not because there are players I'm looking forward to developing, but because I think there's so much room for my draft picks to become the core of the farm system. In an article recently on MLB.com, they were ranked 27 out of 30 in terms of farm systems in Major League Baseball. Their top prospect is Zach Veen at number 54, and he's a long way from being ready for the show. This team doesn't have like a top 10 prospect that they can count on later this year to maybe give them a boost. They don't have the same things to look forward to as some other franchises. I'm using the OSFM rosters. They're always great every single year, and it takes care of some of the inflated potentials around the league, so you have more realistic potentials for your prospects. And the Rockies don't have many A potentials, especially compared to some other teams that have done a lot more rebuilding their farm system. One thing I consider that's not super important are the team uniforms. And I do like the Rockies uniforms. The purple and black combination I think is really cool. And I'm not sure if you can do any uniform editing if you're using like an existing team, but I think it would be fun to potentially create an updated set for them at some point if that were possible. I'm not exactly sure about that. The Rockies' budget is one of the lower in franchise at $147 million, less than the Twins' budget I played with in my last franchise, but above certain teams like Cleveland and Milwaukee. But I want the challenge of having to build a winning team with a smaller budget than rivals in San Francisco, San Diego, and Los Angeles. The Dodgers have a $300 million budget. What I like about the Rockies situation here is that they don't have a ton of money tied to the future. It's very unknown. They have Charlie Blackmon signed through 2023. And that's the only contract here that I wouldn't really be sure about working long term. Otherwise, I think there's plenty of room to start making moves immediately through free agency. I can't imagine they'd be the most aggressive moves, but I want the flexibility to find certain veterans that I think we can build a team around that won't command the greatest salaries. Of course, I have to decide, what are we doing with Trevor Story? Here is a look, if you use the trade finder right now, what you could potentially get. There are a lot of teams willing to give up great prospects, and the Rockies could use a boost to the farm system. So this will be an option, and I'll see the feedback around that possibility. Here is a look at the pitching staff for the Rockies, and it's not one of the best, and the bullpen has not been very good either. But I do like Marquez, Gray, and Gomber to start building that rotation. I'm really concerned about the bullpen. I think we're going to have to make a lot of changes there. There are not many impact players with high potential, so the bullpen is going to be one of the first things I want to fix. The Rockies lineup is not as good as it was with their wild card runs a couple years back, so we're hoping that some of those B potential players from earlier can start to hit their potential sooner than later. We have to find out who's going to be part of the core, and I think there are a lot of options for at least a couple to really hit. I'm excited to get this franchise underway and to start to rebuild the Colorado Rockies. We have a long way to go, and we are nowhere near the teams at the top of this division. We don't have an ace like the Dodgers do with Clayton Kershaw, or their other ace in Trevor Bauer. And I'm not sure we have a star that can carry this team into the future, certainly not on the level of Mookie Betts. We're going to see this Dodgers team quite a bit. That's where we're going to start our season, and that's probably going to show us just how far we have to go with this team. I am looking forward to playing against some of the top teams and players in the league, and the Padres and Dodgers are going to be extremely tough. And we're going to see a lot of the young face of baseball, Fernando Tatis Jr. And I have no idea how he got this to be a double. That was incredible. I will begin the season next episode with opening day against the LA Dodgers. Let me know down below what you thought of this debut episode, and if there's anything else I have to take care of before I get to the opening games. I didn't get too far inside of franchise mode just because there might be a couple things I missed or a couple things I can do so that there aren't any major issues with the league. Ideally, I'd like to set up the preseason injuries the same as in real life, but otherwise just get ready for opening day and start playing games. I've been looking forward to rebuilding a team again for a while, and I think the Rockies are going to be the perfect challenge. And in this series, I'm looking to do things building upon my format with the Minnesota Twins. There's going to be times where I show some highlights of games and then focus on one for an episode. I plan to do some streaming where I'll play games, I'll watch games play out. There's going to be, hopefully, something different every episode that helps us get through a 162-game season, and I'm looking forward to it. So leave your feedback down below, everybody. I'm looking forward to it and can't wait to get this Rockies franchise really going so we can hopefully turn this team into a winning franchise. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and more Rockies franchise will be coming your way later this week. Have a great day.